Welcome to this short presentation which should answer the question, what are open educational resources, or OER, and open licensing? On one level, open educational resources are anything you can use for teaching that you can find on the web. But although that's a good functional definition, it does overlook one of the crucial features of open educational resources, which is that they are openly licensed for reuse. This means that if you're a student, you can use anything, but more importantly, this means that if you're a tutor, you can use them in different ways in your teaching and learning than you otherwise could. So, the next question must be, what is open licensing? Open licensing comes out of a realisation a few years ago that often people that put things up on the internet that they were happy for other people to use, but it wasn't very easy to make this clear to users. There had to be a way of saying, I'm happy for you to use my work under certain conditions. The most famous open licence is Creative Commons, and there's various different open licences. Oxford University uses one that's called BYNCSA, but there are other combinations. The easiest way to understand is for me to talk you through the different symbols that are part of the Creative Commons licence and the conditions that are attached to using them. The first condition that we use in Oxford is BY. This is the condition which is attribution. It says if you're going to use a work that's licensed this way, you must attribute it and link back to the original version of the work. The second condition is non-commercial. This means that you can't use the work for commercial purposes. For those of us in higher education, where we're now increasingly charging for our courses, we count as non-commercial because we're not profit-making. This confused me a bit when I started out in this field, but we do count as non-commercial. However, if you were, for example, going to use something in a textbook, that would count as commercial. The next condition is share alike. That's saying that you're saying that somebody can adapt the piece of work. So it might be, for example, using a couple of slides from a presentation or a couple of citations from a reading list. But if they're going to then use it again, they should distribute it under the same license. The last condition is no derivs, ND. Essentially, this is when you want somebody to not change the thing you've put up. You find no derivs most commonly in something like an image or a video or an audio slide, which would probably be quite hard to change anyway. In terms of adaptation, there are other protections it's worth knowing about. If someone does adapt your work, they can only do this by saying, we've adapted your work. They can't imply it's their work. And you also have redress if they do anything derogatory to your work. So if they do anything to your original piece of work that could have a detrimental effect on your reputation, you do have some redress. However, I think the most surprising thing about openly licensing your work is the number of rights you actually retain, many of which, before I started in this field, I was totally oblivious to. And I think these are the crucial things that make people more likely to want to release their work. If you openly license your work, you do in fact retain copyright. Other people can use it, but they can't say it's theirs. You can do whatever you want with your work, and you can in fact commercially exploit your work, even if you've licensed it as non-commercial. It's still yours, you can still exploit it, it's just that other people can't. If you do share your openly licensed resource through a site like our site Sesame, you can have it taken down. You also have protection under the Copyrights, Designs and Patent Act, and can take legal action if someone is using your work outside the conditions that you're happy with. Hopefully that's explained to you what open educational resources and open licenses are. This particular presentation is openly licensed itself under the CC BY NCSA license, and there's more resources and further information about this through the Sesame project outputs at the URL here. Thank you.